If you make a mistake and do not correct it, this is called a mistake. Do not let a leader lead you on a bad path. A lion chased me up a tree, and I greatly enjoy the view from the top. To love a thing means wanting it to live. Sincerity is that whereby self-completion is effected, and its way is that by which man must direct himself. Anyone can find the switch after the lights are on. The journey with 1,000 miles begins with one step. Silence is a true friend who never betrays. Silence is a true friend who never betrays. It is man that makes truth great, not truth that makes man great. It is man that makes truth great, not truth that makes man great. The true gentleman does not preach what he practices till he has practiced what he preaches. Confucius is the Latinized name of K'ung Fu-tzu, Great Master K'ung. His original name was K'ung Chu. He is also known as K'ung Chung-ni. The most detailed traditional account of Confucius's life is contained in the records of the historian, Shih, by Ssu-ma Ch'ien, who lived from 145 BCE to 86 BCE. Many modern scholars have dismissed this biography as only legend. Nevertheless, from this manuscript one can reconstruct a satisfactory outline of the philosopher's life and influence. According to the records of the historian, Confucius was a descendant of a branch of the royal house of Shang, the dynasty, a family of rulers, that ruled China prior to the Zhou, and a dynasty which ruled China from around 1122 BCE to 221 BCE. His family, the K'ung, moved to the small state of Lu, located in the modern province of Shantung in northeastern China. It was believed that Confucius's father divorced his first wife at an advanced age, because she had borne him only daughters and one disfigured son. He then married a 15-year-old girl from the Yan clan, who gave birth to Confucius. Ssu-ma Ch'ien refers to the relationship as a wild union, which very possibly indicates that Confucius was an illegitimate child, or a child born out of wedlock. In the Analects, Confucius's book of teachings, he writes that during his youth he was poor and was forced to acquire many different skills. It is clear that even though the fortunes of his family had declined, he was no commoner. Confucius unquestionably belonged to the aristocratic, ruling, class known as the Shih. In the time of Confucius most Shih served as court officials, scholars, and teachers. Confucius's first occupation appears to have been as keeper of the Lu granary. Later he worked as supervisor of the fields. Both were low positions but consistent with his Shih status. It is not known exactly when Confucius began his teaching career, but it does not appear to have been much before the age of 30. In 518 BCE he is said to have met the famous teacher Lao Tzu, 6th century BCE, who reportedly bluntly criticized Confucius for his stuffiness and arrogance. Confucius eventually returned to Lu around 515 BCE. For several years after his return he does not appear to have accepted a governmental position. Instead it appears he spent most of his time studying and teaching, gathering a large number of students around him. Although one can only guess about the school's exact coursework, it undoubtedly included instruction in ritual, music, history, and poetry. Around 498 BCE, Confucius decided to leave his home in Lu and embark on a long journey throughout eastern China. He was accompanied by several of his disciples, followers. They wandered throughout the eastern states of Wei, Sung, and Chen and at various times had their lives threatened. Confucius was almost assassinated, killed, in Sung. On another occasion he was mistaken for the adventurer Yang Hu and was arrested and held until his true identity became known. Confucius was received with great respect by the rulers of the states he visited, and he even seems to have received occasional payments. He spent much of his time developing his ideas on the art of government, as well as continuing his teaching. He acquired a large following, and the solidification of the Confucian school probably occurred during these years. Not all of his disciples followed him on his travels. Several of them actually returned to Lu and assumed positions with the Shih clan. It may have been through their influence that in 484 BCE Confucius was invited back to Lu. Confucius was warmly received in Lu, but there is no indication that he was given a responsible position. Little is known about his last years, although this would have been a logical time for him to work on the many texts and documents he supposedly gathered on his journey. Much of his time was devoted to teaching, and he seems to have remained more or less distant from political affairs. This was an unhappy period for Confucius. His only son died about this time. His favorite disciple, Yan Hui, died the very year of his return to Lu, and in 480 BCE another disciple, Zhu Lu, was killed in battle. Confucius felt all of these losses deeply, and his sadness and frustration must have been intensified by the realization that his political ideas had found no support among the rulers of his own state. Confucius died in 479 BCE. His disciples conducted his funeral and observed a mourning period for him.